The good ship Blue Jays is no longer taking on water. That's good. Let's stick with the positives. Keegs and Kyle and Dan. And I want to start with Louis Varland. How he is, they said it was closer by committee, but he was the closer this past weekend. And in his first appearance, we had a lot of deja vu with Jeff Hoffman. We're like, oh my, maybe no one can do this job.
It's a lot of like when you see a running back by committee in the NFL, you know, like as soon as somebody pops a 20-yard run, you're the starter, right? And with Louis Varland, I understand that there will be times that others are asked to do this, but Louis Varland's the best reliever, so it's pretty easy to prioritize him in the ninth. And I think the question that the Blue Jays and John Schneider try to figure out every single night is where's the biggest spot in the game? And that's where Louis Varland goes. Now, most of the time, that's going to be the ninth inning. But, for example, in that Guardians series, if you had been facing an eighth inning where Jose Ramirez was coming up, then it's Louis Varland. You trust maybe Braden Fisher, who I think is underrated as hell, to handle the ninth inning, Mason Fluharty, Tyler Rogers. Rogers is a bit of an awkward fit in the ninth because sometimes you want a bit more swing and miss and strike out there sometimes. But it looks like it's going to be Louis Varland for the time being. And Jeff Hoffman, yeah, he walked a guy, whatever, but he looked okay. You know, he had that great inside slider on the strikeout that he had, I think, for the second out of the inning. That's really encouraging for me. And good on Jeff Hoffman. You know, like I've talked about his bad days enough. Like, good on him. He came out and gave them a really important inning.
Back to Varland for a second, too. Something I observed a while ago about him, and I don't know how much this actually means, but to me, he's always looked like a closer. Like he stands like one, he comes in out of the pen like one, he's built like one, and he has a demeanor like one. Is it just more of a natural fit for him to put everything on his shoulders?
Yeah, closers and goalies, there's just something wrong with them. You know, there's
Yes.
just something that's not all the way right with them. And that's okay. I used to be a goalie. It's okay. I have the disease, but it's closers. You either have the ones who really flip a switch. Remember Jordan Romano, who is the nicest, most laid back, everyday dude I've ever covered. And then he would start pacing the bullpen and chugging Red Bulls and just losing his mind. Or you have the guys who are ramped up all the time. And I think that unless you are the greatest in the world, that side will kill you. Like if you have to act like a closer all the time, it's a little dangerous. So Louis Varland, the version that we see in the clubhouse and around the team, is much quieter, like much more laid back, one of the guys. And then you see him in the bullpen, and Graham Johnson, one of their bullpen pitching coaches, gives him that like double hand slap on the back, and he starts sprinting in. I'd love to see a Louis Varland closer entrance. You know, most of them in baseball, guys, I don't think are good enough. I think everyone's just chasing that like Edwin Diaz entrance again. And right now the Blue Jays have like it shoots like smoke or steam above the bullpen where the closers come out. I think there's room for improvement. But and maybe that's kind of a playing politics thing too. If you give Louis Varland a special closer's entrance, is that kind of shutting the door on Jeff Hoffman? So these are all very silly things, but they're the things I think of. But Varland is man, he's the guy with that mentality, and you saw it in that save he had that was kind of ugly against the Guardians. He was struggling to be in the zone at first. He allowed a couple of hits. There were runners on, and he buckled down. That's what Jordan Romano used to do. Like Romano appearances did not start until there was a guy on second base, and then he would tighten up and figure it out. Varland can do that. And for me, that's the mark of a very good closer, is after that first batter reaches, which it's gonna a lot of the time. No one's Mariano Rivera. How they buckle down. Jeff Hoffman earlier in the season would walk the next guy. When you look at what Louis Varland did, he really tightened up and got back to his stuff. And something about this guy is just built differently. Like he can pitch every single day, and it doesn't seem to affect him. You know, knock on wood, but it doesn't seem to.
There was a moment during that ugly save in which the camera cut to Hoffman. And I was watching the game with family, and I said, yeah, that's the guy who used to have this job. And I said, he is human. he is doing everything in his power not to have the thought process, I hope he blows it. I hope he blows it. Because I've talked to former athletes. They say, yeah, we say, oh, that was a great performance by that guy. You don't want them to perform better. You're human. You're like, they're taking my job. So very interesting situation where he's like, I want everyone to see how hard this job is.
And John Schneider said something similar after. He's like, listen, like, I hope people have some sympathy for Jeff Hoffman. And I really believe that a closer's job is the hardest and maybe the most thankless in pro sports. Because if you do your job, it's just, okay, that's what you're supposed to do. Like, nobody cheers for the save. It's just what you're supposed to do. And I should say, too, that, like, I really respect how Jeff Hoffman's handling this. And he would have every reason to be pissed off about this and air out his manager in the press and say, I'm the closer. They're not letting me figure this out, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't agree with him, but it wouldn't surprise me if a guy did that. He's handling this really well, and I think very professionally. And he's acknowledging that he wasn't getting the job done and that he wants to win. He wants to be part of winning. And I like that from Jeff Hoffman. Like, you can still crap on the results, but I don't want that to paint how I talk about the guy and all of this, because it's got to be awkward. You know, same dynamic with Brandon Valenzuela and Tyler Heineman behind the plate. Like, you want to win, but when Alejandro Kirk's bone heals in his hand, one of you's sticking around, the other isn't. So it's that is where a strong clubhouse comes into play, which the Blue Jays have. You know, that's why when Eric Lauer speaks out about some certain things lately, it feels so out of place, because we're not hearing stuff like that around the Jays much lately. But that's got to be a strange one, sitting in there and someone else is running in for what's been your inning for over a year here in this city.
Keegan, over the weekend, Kaz Okamoto put on a display for the city of Toronto from all facets of the game, showing off his power, his ability to see more pitches at the plate, and of course, flashing the leather at the hot corner over there at third. Talk about him, the adjustments he's been making, and the patience the team has shown with him getting used to major league pitching.
Yeah, it's really impressive. And John Schneider has stuck behind Okamoto in a way that kind of reminds me how he's stuck behind certain relievers over the years, because we've had to ask John Schneider, listen, you know, Kaz Okamoto's striking out a ton, his OPS is 610, and Schneider doesn't just say, I believe in him. Like, he really takes it several steps further and has really supported Okamoto. And we're seeing why right now. We're seeing exactly why. The power was always going to come eventually. Now, back-to-back home runs over the batter's eye into the flight deck, that's wild. Okay, that is incredible raw power. The defense might impress me more than anything right now, guys. Kevin Gausman talked about that the other night. And it's not the most, like, fluid defense. He doesn't look like a silky Andres Jimenez out there. Like, Okamoto has a hockey build, guys. Like, it is all upper legs and all hips. Like, he is built like he, as a man who has trouble buying pants, I see some, I look at him and I sense a connection. You know, it's when you have that build, it's hard to buy pants that don't look like bell bottoms at the bottom, right? So Kaz Okamoto and his hockey build at third base, it's not going to be easy breezy smooth. There's going to be some clunky movements maybe, but all that matters is that the ball gets to first base before the runner does. And it's been doing that. His arm plays there. And the thing he's getting used to now, guys, is playing much further back, because in Japan, you're not facing Aaron Judge. You are facing ground balls that are more 100, 105 miles an hour. Now you're facing big league exit velocities. So you need to take a few steps back, or else you're going to lose some teeth. And he's adjusting to that very well. His teammates love him. He has the prettiest swing on the team, honestly. Like, if you put it side by side with Vladdy, I know that everyone loves Vladdy, but Okamoto's swing is gorgeous. And if he can adjust quicker than expected, like, I expected this to be kind of July, August when he really turned the corner. If that can happen in June instead, then you are talking about a legitimate middle of the lineup bat in the big leagues that the Blue Jays got on a great contract. I said before the season, I think he'll be everyone's favorite player. I still really believe that.
The Blue Jays got rid of the elephant in the room, the Jeff Hoffman situation, and no quicker did they get rid of the elephant than another elephant wandered in. I mentioned Friday with CJ Nitkowski. I said, I believe it's becoming with Max Scherzer. Every start we're saying, is this the last one? And I can't help but say that same sentence after his start on Friday night.
Yeah, this is a more awkward elephant, I think, guys. This is because
It's an intense elephant.
he is Max bleeping Scherzer, And where we're at now, guys, it reminds me of how I looked at this going into the season, which is that Scherzer barking at John Schneider on the mound in Seattle painted how people talked about him all offseason. And I believe eliminated from the conversation the fact he had a 5+ ERA last year. And he's come in this year. Yes, spring training was good. His debut against, I believe, the Rockies was very good. And even in Arizona against the D-backs, he only struck out one guy, but it was a good outing. But as he's dealing with forearm tendonitis and as he's getting rocked and he's not missing any bats, I think in his last outing, guys, he had 40-ish swings forced, maybe 39, and only 2 whiffs, one of which was a foul tip. That counts as a whiff, apparently. So he only got 1 real swing and miss, which is wild. Like, that is as bad as it's been for Scherzer when you look at swing and miss in his career. And Jose Berrios is coming back. Jose Berrios may not be an ace, but he is very solid. And I'm a big believer in Jose Berrios still. You're going to get Shane Bieber coming back. And I can't believe we're talking about Scherzer versus Corbin, but I've given up on what I think we're supposed to believe this season. It's been such a strange one. Max Scherzer needs to go on a run here because the Blue Jays have said from the very beginning that the best 5 starters will be in the rotation. And if Jose Berrios were to return tomorrow, Max Scherzer's number 6, I think very clearly at this point. Whether he needs time to deal with that forearm, I'm not sure. He has said that it was not the reason for his last outing, but it always comes up in recovery 2 or 3 days later. So we'll probably get an update on that today, how he's doing. But the fact his name is Max Scherzer makes this awkward. And he also has that contract, guys, where up beyond 60 or 65 innings, that's when he starts making $1 million every 10 innings. There's a lot of motivation to be in this rotation right now. I don't think it makes sense to kick him to the bullpen. Health-wise is a big question for me, but the performance just isn't there right now. And you have to respect his entire career, but you're the Toronto Blue Jays in 2026, trying to win in 2026. So his start on Wednesday is really, really damn important because Jose Berrios is lined up to come back next week, next trip through the rotation. Patrick Corbin, who's the other guy in the bubble, just had a really good outing. All the eyes are on Max Scherzer at this point. He's got to give them a good one. And guys, I think back to when I was in Arizona, Scherzer is 2 strikeouts away from 3,500. He would be just the 11th in MLB history to do it. So I wrote that story before the game in Arizona, writing, having my story ready. It's been 2 starts and he hasn't struck out 2 guys yet. I'm just hoping that story sees the light of day. He had 1 in his last one, 0 in his most recent. He just doesn't look like himself. And at 41, it's a tough spot right now.
Keegan, yesterday we saw the major league debut of Yohendrick Pinango. Is it Pinhajo or Pinango?
Pinango. There's a little bit of spice in the middle. Yeah.
A little bit of spice in the middle. Yeah, well, I'm Scottish Irish, so I missed it. Anyways, we saw his debut yesterday. He hit the ball well. His actually first plate appearance, he lined out to deep left, I believe it was, and then he got a hit in his second appearance. Talk about the effect that all these injuries have had on the ability to see guys at the major league level, acquire guys they probably wouldn't have been going after, who have actually contributed well to this team.
It's important, man. Pinango's an interesting prospect because they left him exposed this offseason ahead of the Rule 5 draft. I thought he was going to be picked. The Blue Jays were a bit nervous about it, but he wasn't, and it worked out. The way John Schneider described it is that he has bad intentions at the plate. Like, it's a violent swing. He wants to hit the ball hard. And good. I mean, that's what people want to see. They're not looking for a guy that slaps singles. Like, Pinango is trying to hit the ball very, very hard. In the past, he's hit it on the ground too much. He's trying to hit it in the air more. If he does that, he can hit 20 home runs. We'll see. There's not a ton of defensive profile there. It's kind of like Jesus Sanchez in the corner outfield, which I love watching Jesus Sanchez play defense, man. It's like, it takes me back to like the Teoscar and Lourdes days. It's the ball's in the air and it's a bit of an adventure, but yeah, he figures it out. And I think Pinango will be the same vein. He's not going to give you plus value out there. But between Pinango, Brandon Valenzuela coming up, trading for Lenine Sosa. They have others in AAA with Josh Kasevich, RJ Schreck, Charles McAdoo's off to a great start. This is the value and the importance of having your own internal depth, because if the Blue Jays were in a spot where they were 2 or 3 years ago, they would be doing the DFA waiver wire churn even worse than right now. And they're really up against it right now. They can't take any more. But you need your own optionable depth at this point. It keeps your roster intact. It makes sure that you don't blow through a bunch of waiver wire arms. And Pinango might be able to stick around a little bit longer. We'll see when Springer's back. It could be as early as today, maybe the next couple. But big benefit to have legitimate, 23, 24-year-old prospects who are ready. Whereas in the past, the Blue Jays have been really thin on that. So it's a credit to player development.
Someone else who's ready, apparently, is Trey Yesavage. He's penciled in to start on Tuesday, his first start of the year. Now, you said, and also CJ Nitkowski said, would like to see him have one more minor league start. That's not happening.
No, this will be interesting. He did not get built all the way up last time. And for Yesavage, I think this is important, where he's not someone who's going to go 100 pitches. In the postseason run last year, like, the Blue Jays were emptying the tank with Trey Yesavage. So he was getting up to 90. I think he went over 100 in one of his World Series appearances. That's not him. Like, that was not him last year. When you look through the minor leagues, single A, high A, double, and triple A, he was doing a lot of 65, 74, 71, 82. Like, those were the pitch counts coming up for him. And if he can give the Blue Jays 4 2/3 innings on 75 pitches, well, good enough. That'll be okay. And I'm expecting, guys, that Eric Lauer will be ready to piggyback off of him, kind of intentionally. And maybe that means you only need 4 from Yesavage to start out. But the big thing for Yesavage now, guys, will be that everyone's paying attention to him. Everyone knows that he is going to throw his fastball up and a splitter down. And Kevin Gausman is the ultimate example of surviving when they know what's coming. Like, everyone knows Gausman's going to throw a splitter, but he's been able to survive with that pitch, which makes him one of the most impressive pitchers in Major League Baseball to me, frankly, because he's not fooling anyone. Can Yesavage do that? Now that people have seen him, now that they know he's the guy who set a bunch of rookie records and lit up the Yankees and pitched in the World Series, they're going to be paying attention to him. And can they lay off that splitter? Or can they target just the fastball? This will be an interesting challenge for Yesavage. And he was not locked in with his control in his last rehab start or two, and that's important for him, because the version we got of Yesavage at the end of last year is his peak. And I don't say that I don't want it to sound like, oh, that's the best he'll ever be, it's all downhill. But I mean, if Yesavage pitches for 15 years like he did in September and October, he's like a Hall of Famer, okay? Like, that's as good as Yesavage can be. What does it look like when he only has his B game? We don't really know that yet. Some pitchers have a really good B game. Kevin Gausman, again, the example. Like, there are days where Gausman just comes out and he's throwing 90 and 91. And 5 years ago, I would panic and ask him about it. Now I've learned that he's just like, I don't know, man, I'm 35. But he can make that work. Can Trey Yesavage make it work when he does not have his best stuff? I don't know the answer to that yet. And that's going to be the most interesting thing for the next month, I think.
And Trey Yesavage, of course, will be pitching against a Boston Red Sox team that rolls in tonight on the heels of a completely uneventful weekend in which they made no headlines and nothing interesting happened.
That team really seems to have a great connection with its fan base right now.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that they did that, guys. Like, you've already seen and heard it 1,000 times. Like, Alex Cora is one of the best managers in baseball. You hear it from players, you see it in results. Being around him and seeing how he, in very fleeting circumstances, but being around him and how he handles media and handles his team a few times, he's like a really good manager. Okay, he is going to have his pick of whatever job he wants after he collects millions and millions of remaining salary from the Red Sox and probably makes a few mil on TV this year. Like, life is okay. I'm understanding why he just keeps tweeting out smiley faces and stuff, like, if your salary is guaranteed, fire me, whatever. But this is stunning to me. Like, I know their start has not been good, but if there's one manager in baseball who I would trust to be a bit of that hard ass and drag a team out of a bad start, it's kind of Alex Cora. So Red Sox ownership and management there, not polling highly. It's been a while since anyone polled highly, and that's coming off the Chaim Bloom era there in Boston. Their fans are pissed, man, and rightfully so, because I think Alex Cora was everyone's always going to hate the manager a bit, but I feel like he actually had a good connection with Red Sox fans too, because he had some edge. Like Alex Cora had no problem telling someone where to go either. So shocker to me, and the fact that they banged the whole coaching staff. I mean, you're starting from scratch there, especially a month into the season, and how it was handled, right down to the coach van that drove them to the airport from a company called Coaches for Hire. Like, just think it through, people.
Their bedside manner, not so great.
Not
so
great,
good.
guys. Watching the Boston Red Sox reporters who were staking out that hotel and just live tweeting it was just there's certain moments where I'm like, damn, I'm not wishing this upon Blue Jays people, but I'm just thinking, damn, I'd love to cover a mess like that. What a mess,
Thoughts on Jordan Romano, the former Jays closer, let go by the Angels? Is it the end of the road for him?
Ooh, could be close to it, guys, unfortunately. And Romano's just such a great guy, great to cover, great to work with. I hope he gets a shot at a minors deal and has something left. Those are the types of guys I feel for, where Romano broke through a little later in his career, didn't quite get the big payday. Like, I'm just going to bring up his page here now in front of me. Yeah, his breakout year with the Blue Jays was kind of his age 27 season, right? And when you are breaking out and getting to the big leagues and establishing yourself when you're already 27 or 28, that puts you a bit behind the eight ball on getting to arbitration and getting the big payday. I think he had a good one with the Phillies. So I'm glad he got a piece of that. But it's hard as a reliever, especially unless you are breaking out at 22 or 23 and you can hit free agency healthy at 28, 29, which it's not happening for anybody. Everyone's got an elbow or something. Tough spot for Romano, but his last couple of years been bad, but his peaks with the Blue Jays were really damn good, man. I hope he gets a shot on a minor league deal somewhere. I know he wasn't missing many bats this year, but he's a guy I'll always root for, though, man. If all the reasons that people loved him in Toronto were legitimate. Just a great guy.
Keegan, the Jays start Dylan Cease tonight in Boston. And just very quickly before we let you go, how will he fare against this lineup? And by no means am I looking for information on how to ladder his strikeouts on Bet Rivers tonight, because I'm not exactly sure what kind of lineup the Red Sox have had this season and how he'll fare.
Yeah, their lineup's been a little all over the place, guys. And I just want to look in terms of how much teams are striking out. They're right in the middle of the pack, 15th, dead on in strikeouts. But I know that the Red Sox are not working a ton of walks either. They've been putting the ball in play quite a bit. With Dylan Cease lately, like, his stuff looks as good as I've seen a starter's stuff look in Toronto, period. Like, we're probably talking going back to the Roger Clemens years in terms of strikeout rates and strikeout ability. I know that fans in Toronto don't want to talk about the Roger Clemens years. They were the best 2 years pitching in Jays history, and they probably will be forever. And Cease, that's a bit of a high mountain to climb. He won't throw enough innings, but he is striking out a couple guys an inning. And if he gives you 5 innings with 10 Ks every time, cool. I don't care that he's not throwing 300 innings, like, whatever. Like, I long for the days of Dave Steve and Jimmy Key, but strikeouts are really damn cool. Okay. And if Dylan Cease stays on this exact trajectory, you'd love to see him get a few more innings, but he could easily be a top 3 Cy Young finisher in the American League. And the Red Sox, I think, are going to be just as challenged as anyone. They haven't been particularly impressive by any means this year, and Dylan Cease has been one of the best pitchers in baseball.
Thanks, Keegs, and a big hug coming your way Tuesday. I will be in attendance for Yesavage's first start of the season.
Oh, baby.
See ya.